Awesome. And welcome to another episode of How to Make It in Toronto. We're super excited about today's guest. We have Mr. Zdenek, who's executive chair of Cakeclub. He brings decades of expertise as a financial planning leader and author of 2 acclaimed Forbes books. After building and exiting a successful financial firm, Al's mission is clear: to help people live fully now while securing their future. Every day, Al shares his proven strategies to share financial freedom is achievable and inspiring. Welcome, Mr. Al Zdenek.
Well, thank you for having me, Carl.
Okay. Really excited about today's episode. So we'll get started by, how do you define, success, and has that, changed over the years?
Well, it's very funny. When I was a young man, I defined success as how much money I had, how much I was going to get, and how wealthy I was going to be. And as I've gotten older, as the years had gone by, I've realized that success is the freedom you have, the freedom to make choices, the freedom to say yes or no to opportunities, to say yes, what serves you or what doesn't serve you. I've known a lot of people have a lot of money and they don't feel they're free at all. They feel they're trapped by it.
Yeah.
And you can have a small amount of money and be completely free around how you want to live. So it's really, what degree of freedom do you have in your life to make those choices? That to me is success.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I feel like certainly it gives you the ability to choose what you want to focus on as well, when you have that freedom to be able to really focus on what you care about.
Right.
So to get started, could you give us a bit about your background, and how you've gotten to where you are now?
It's really funny, people say that you have at least 7 or 8 types of changes or pivots in your career, and I probably have used them or more. I actually started out wanting to be a geologist, and I still love geology. But when I was in college, I saw I could only work at a university or an oil company. I didn't want either. So, but I happened to have a part-time job with a tax company, and I got to learn taxes, and I loved dealing with people. So I changed my major to business. Eventually became a CPA. Worked for an accounting firm in New York City. Eventually worked for a marketing company, a pharmaceutical company. But I wanted to have my own business. So I decided to take a chance to start a CPA firm when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. And I began in a small town. And being a high energy person, and again, when I was younger, I wanted to just be rich. I started to invest in real estate, start some real estate partnerships, had 8 or 9 of them. If there was an extra hour a day, I filled it up. I was 24/7 a week. I was having fun, rocking and rolling. And then all of a sudden things changed for me. I probably stretched myself time just a bit too much. And I started to have problems with my companies. The economy changed. And quite frankly, I found myself on the verge of bankruptcy. That was a very dark time in my life, and managed, with the help of some mentors and some people, to get out of it. One was a guy named Daryl Kane from Dallas, and he showed me another thing, something that was new at that time called financial planning, which I had no idea what it was. But I thought it could add money to my company, selling the service. So I asked him to show me what it is. He said, no, you must do it first. So he made me sit down and make a financial plan for myself. And then I saw how really badly I looked. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be working until I'm 80 years old. But then he showed me a different way of thinking in financial planning. I eventually set my goals to be financially independent by 50. I did it by 48. Wow. And I changed my whole company. I changed my whole company from a CPA firm to a wealth advisory, out to basically help people to, again, gain financial freedom, work less in life, live the life they want. And that's how I got into my company eventually, and sold that off. And now I have Cakeclub.
Yeah, that's awesome. Quite the journey. So for people who may not have a solid understanding or background in regards to what financial planning is, how would you define that? And, what were the first steps that you took to help you start on your journey to financial wellness?
Well, again, financial planning was new for me back then, and now it's used all the time, or at least the term is. But financial planning is basically, to me, sitting down and visualizing how you wish to live life now and in the future. You want to travel, you want to have a home, you want a vacation, have a family, education for your kids, all these things. How do you want to live life now in the future? And then putting numbers to it. And then deciding after that, well, is what you're making or your business or your opportunities enough to fulfill that? And again, starting to make the changes. See, I think like a financial plan is like a mapping for like a ship. It's like there's a port, there's somewhere you're going, a destination. And a financial plan is like a chart, the chart of a ship. It helps you to get there. And sometimes there's rough seas, sometimes, you're not sure you're on the right path, but you keep on knowing that's where I want to go to. So it's the mountaintop you want to go to, the port of destination. And I find that if you know where you want to go to, people or things get out of the way for you. So I think a financial plan is really that. Figuring out where you want to go, how you want to live, and then get in the boat and start sailing.
Totally true. I feel like just having one, certainly in our time period that we're in right now, it is quite important, as we're seeing, whether it's a rise in tariffs, a rise in just cost of living, and just in general, trying to kind of budget and save for the future. So based on that, do you have any tips or insight into if someone's starting to work on one, what are a few things that they should focus on to help them start to, really put that plan together and prepare for the future?
Well, you mentioned it's a scary time, and you're right. There's a lot of things going on in the world, but quite frankly, so many of us are so unprepared when we're out in the world or we get our first job, our first couple of jobs. We don't get really good financial education in school. And, where do you go to for that kind of information, or how do you begin? So it's a scary venture one way or another. And by the way, there's a lot of people that become scary as they get in their 30s and 40s or beyond, because they never really planned before. And all of a sudden, when you're in your 20s, 60 looks far away. Well, it's not as far away when you're about 40, 45. But where I would begin is that, try to surround yourself with people or that you feel that are successful or that have gone through financial planning, or maybe just start to ask someone. You can go to a podcast. There's so many ways to do this today. You go to a podcast on financial planning. You can do some research on it, but eventually try to sit down with someone that you can trust that sort of leads you the way. Because most people, you want to start putting in front of you like you have to become a financial expert. You have to know taxes. You have to know investments. That's overwhelming. You try to get some help with that. So I would try to get someone around you. I get maybe like if there's some people that have been successful in your company and or in life, you might sit down and say, well, how did you do it? How did you get started? Try to get a mentor or a coach around it. I would do that. And then at the same time, a good person to sit down with is someone's going to say, okay, how do you want to live life? What's important to you? What do you think you're going to do the next 5 or 10 years? How long do you want to work? There's basic questions you can start to go with. But again, I would start with like some podcasts, some written articles, some successful people, what do they do? And then maybe sitting down with someone and starting to explore exactly what you have to do to start making the best financial decisions you can.
That's awesome. So let's go back into your journey of building a business. What are some skills that helped you as an entrepreneur getting started? And then also when you made that pivot, more so from the CPA into financial wealth management, what kind of skills do you think helped you during that time?
Looking back, I'd say one of the biggest skills that I managed to get over the years is better communications, not only with people, but with myself. Most people don't. We spend time getting a profession or learning to do something in work. We don't spend the time in learning. Very few people take courses in college or beyond that, and how to communicate with people, and again, how to communicate with yourself. All right. So because, we have these thoughts and things that really have a profound effect on us. And you know them, you get up in the morning, do I really want to get up today? Oh my God, I got to go to work again.
Yeah.
You can do it that way, or you can say, wow, another day up. Wow, I can't hardly wait to get to work today. Now, being extreme on both ends there, but what you're thinking, the communication with yourself is extremely important. And then also how you communicate with others. Are you listening well? Most people don't have those listening skills. And so to be a successful entrepreneur, I think you have to have those. Now, to be a successful entrepreneur, you also have to, and I did not do this well at the beginning, because see, I grew up in a family where you had to be self-reliant. You don't ask for help. You don't ask, that's charity to ask for help. It's weakness to ask for help. That's BS. What it is that you have to start asking people for help. So let's say you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to open up, I don't know, a restaurant. I don't know. Well, go speak to some restaurant owners.
Yeah.
Go speak to someone who's been successful on that. Ask them to help you. Most really good, successful business people want to help. They'll be more than happy to help with you. So get yourself a good mentor or people that way. Get yourself a good coach. Another thing too that most entrepreneurs overlook is get yourself what I call a championship team of experts. Most people, they don't know, they just go out and grab an attorney, a banker, accountant, and most of the time they're looking for, can I get the cheapest ones or whatever, because they're starting a business. But I tell you, they cost you money if you do. You don't have to get the most expensive ones, but get yourself a great accountant, attorney, banker, insurance person, so that they can also help provide advice, so that as you're building your business, you have these really great people around you. And then finally, make sure you're controlling your business. Make sure you know what cash is coming in, coming out. But last thing for an entrepreneur especially, learn how to pivot. When you enter a business, it's extremely rare, and I know of no one that has a business for 20, 30 years and stays exactly the same.
Yeah.
There's highs and lows. You talk about the tariffs. You talk about trade wars. You talk about all the stuff that happens. You talk people's taste. They change their taste. So what you have to do is learn to pivot and not be afraid to pivot. Don't call it a failure. Say, okay, this is not working anymore. What else can I add? Can I change? Like, again, going back to a restaurant, could I have maybe going from like a haute cuisine to maybe like a bistro, or try something new? But don't be afraid, because some people stick to it so long, they as they're going down, they just keep on driving in the ground. So again, try yourself with good people, successful people, a championship team, and learn how to pivot.
That's awesome. I think it's extremely important advice, and having great mentorship and networking, I've definitely learned, is probably one of the most important things you need as an entrepreneur. For you, I've got two questions I'd like to ask there is, number one, how did you go about starting to build that championship team? Is it reaching out to different people like in a network? Is it connecting with other business leaders, and how you're able to develop that?
Well, it's really funny. You begin because, especially if you're a young entrepreneur, and unless you're a brilliant person, I guess, or have experience, you sort of like ask friends.
Yeah.
Maybe ask your mom and dad. Maybe you would hurt their accountant and their attorney and their insurance person, because you don't know. And you say, well, they can't be wrong. But what you find out is that sometimes these are not really great people. So what you have to do is there are certain things you look for in a championship team person expert. You look, do they return calls promptly? Do they give me good advice? Are they saving me money? Do they follow through their projects timely? Right? If they're all doing that, then they're an A player.
Yeah.
But very few people are A players. So what you have to do is every year you have to sit down, just like you're reviewing your year of finances. You sit down and review your team and say, who's the A players? Who's the B? If you have a C or D player, you get rid of them, because they make too many mistakes for you and they cost you money. And another thing you could do with an expert, and very few people do it, is that when you sit down with them, have a conversational expectations. I expect you to return my calls promptly, do this, that. and then sit down with them every year and review how they did. When we have employees or team members, don't we have an annual review with them?
Mhm.
Why not have an annual review with your experts? And you'll find if you do that, they're going to be much more responsive because they know you're the guy, you're the person, you're the squeaky wheel. They're going to make sure that they're paying attention to you. So that's how I would build one.
Yeah, I think that's extremely important because you kind of have to, be the driver of your own train, right? And be able to make sure you're getting things done on your end. My second question would be, you mentioned you need to be able to make a pivot. For you, how did you know, or at what point did you start to understand it might be a good time to make that change? What are the kind of signals you look for? And when you do, how do you outline, how you're going to step forward into that pivot that you're making?
Excellent question. And I'm probably the poster child for I didn't do it quick enough. And I had to have a 2x4 smashed in my head a couple of times. So I think what I did was, and it's most classic when people are having problems in their businesses, is you ignore the problem. It's going to go away. Give it another month. And you start to either borrow, or you borrow from your 401k, or you start using all your cash up until one day you're thinking, I'm not going to be able to make payroll. Yeah. And that is a serious sign. Where it happened to me, and I'm not proud of it, is I had about 20 some people working for me at the time in my firm. I had to call 8 or 9 of them in one day and say, as of today, you're no longer working here.
Wow.
That was traumatic for them and for me. You mess up people's lives. You disappoint. I can't tell you how emotional that was for me and them. Mm-hmm. But and then I remember swearing that this would never happen to me again. But the true next thing that happened, almost like the next day or two later, I was meeting with a very successful business person. I wanted his help. He could only meet at 12 o'clock at night. Mm. I was there. Yeah. And I asked him for help in this, and with a project, and he says, I'll put that aside. He said, look, I can tell you're in real trouble. Mm. And he said, here's a card of a workout attorney. He's a great guy. And I remember leaving that house that night feeling that it was the lowest I ever was in my life. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, when you learn to pivot, you say, okay, I could be sorry for myself or whatever, or I can start making changes. I went home and I spoke to my wife and I said, look, we're in serious trouble. She already knew that. I said, I'm not so sure by the time we're done, we're gonna be able to keep this house. And she cried. And then she said something to me I'll never forget. She said, okay, what do we have to do? Wow. And so what we did, called up the attorney, and I started looking at what things I had to chop off, what things I had to change. So it put me into action. And so let me put it this way, I don't want anyone out there who's listening to this to get to the point where I was. I should have realized this a month or two before I sat down and couldn't make payroll. Yeah. But I didn't. So what are the telltale signs? Sales are going down. Revenue is decreasing. People are not calling you back. Economy is weak, or there's all these telltale signs that it's not going to happen. It normally doesn't happen overnight. Mm-hmm. Even with crashes in the market, there's still time that it reverberates through the economy. So there's a lot of signals out there if you're willing to listen to them. Now, beyond that, even if you're a healthy company and you're not facing the problems I did, you still have to pivot. Okay. Again, I remember when we first had the financial planning firm, I was offering just financial planning and non-investment advisory. I realized that there was a lot of investment advisors there that when I was done planning, I didn't like what they were doing with my clients. So I took that on. And I took that on by being a CIO, I was a chief investment officer. I was running their investments. It didn't work. I pivoted to where I got outside people because it was much more efficient. I added taxes to it. There's things that you can add or subtract because they work. And what I did is put together a firm that basically was an integrated firm to where we could do your financial planning, your taxes, your investment advisory, your insurance. And what that does, it helped make for a stickier client, help give a better service to clients. But you keep on pivoting. You keep on doing that. So it's just not when you get in trouble. You have to keep looking at yourself. Is my business model as best it can be every year, every 6 months, and be open to it when it has to change.
That's awesome. And I love the pivot there, and the fact that you kind of you changed, the business into being an end-to-end product where, whatever other solution that you could provide your customer, you're able to provide that. And I think that's certainly such an important point for entrepreneurs to take into account is the value that you're presenting to your customer holistic, and are you really solving different problems for them? Because that's when they stick around, of course, right? Yeah.
Well, you always want to make your value proposition the best out there because competition is always out there. And the market environment changes all the time. So you got to keep it, you don't want to get fat and happy. You don't want to say, I know all the answers. You keep on telling yourself, I don't. What else is out there? What else is out there? The smart business people, the most successful business people are always asking that.
Yeah. Were you certainly, as you're growing the business, was there any fear of maybe you're taking on too much? And how would you manage that if it was? Or certainly now moving into like taxes and, the other sectors that you moved into to be able to provide that, like that great product. How did you prepare to take these things on? Is it reaching out to other people who've done it? And even for you, building up that skill set to get there?
Well, especially when I was in my 20s, young and cocky, I felt I couldn't fail.
Yeah.
There's no such thing. And so I took risks all the time. I was, if you don't like risk, you don't be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And so, when it was time to take some risks, I just I got to a point in my youthful days, I just did it, period.
Yeah.
But after, especially the experience of almost coming to bankruptcy in my early 30s, I still took risks, but it was a lot more educated risks.
Yeah.
Okay. So, for example, like we were in New Jersey at the time, and I wanted to expand to an office in Manhattan. Well, that's pretty expensive, and we eventually had about 10 or 15 people in Manhattan, and we had about a 5,000 square foot office. Well, and that was going to cost a lot of money. But we just sat down as management, looked at it, planned our cash flow, and we just did it. And you can plan cash flow, but now you got to make it happen. So I've always been that way. But again, I do believe in what you just said. If you're going to take a risk, you make sure that you bounce it off your management team, other people too, get ideas, other people who have done this, stay in contact with your peers. Peers are very important. Make sure that you have your banker also in that conversation. So I probably do it in a smarter way today. But I'm still a risk taker.
Yeah. I think, as you mentioned, you have to be a risk taker and be willing to go for it if you're going to be, certainly building a business.
And you have to like it.
Yeah.
You have to like it. You have to say, this is exciting. It may scare you some days, and you may think, my God, what did I get myself into? But then you think, well, I could work for someone else. You think, oh no, I so like this.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like it takes a certain amount of self-belief in yourself. How do you, in that terms, how do you build that confidence to be able to take these risks? Or what do you think played a part in that? Is it like the drive to say, I'm just going to make this happen no matter what? Or is it maybe the opportunity that's in the industry or sector that you saw and you said, we can fill that void as a business? Or is it a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things, but I think it's like, you're not going to allow yourself to fail. And you're going to keep on finding a way. It's like water will find a way to get through something. You'll find a way to get beyond the barrier. But you did remind me of something else too. I think that when I first began, while I was a cocky guy getting out there, I wasn't so confident all the time when I was around these really successful people. I used to think to myself, my God, they're going to find out the truth about me. I'm not as successful as they are. And I do think you get to a point, and I got to a point probably when I was in my 40s that, I call it owning the room. When you go into a room, it's your room. And you can tell who does that. The people comes in the room, they're out there, they're the ones attention goes to. And the people that slink into the room. I used to be that guy. I would slink into the room and, not try to be noticed. but you make the room yours. It's all part of the confidence building. It's all part of, like, you start getting like stripes. You start getting scars, I guess, too. You failed at some stuff, you recovered, you learned from that. Hopefully you learn. If you don't learn from it, then you're going to fail again. And you start learning all these things, connections, whatever, confidence, owning the room, pivoting. And you get to a point to where, it's like, you think, I think I can go into any business today that I wanted to and be successful, because I have now all these like scars or whatever, it's like one of these old like bears or buffaloes that's all scarred up. You're not going to fool them.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm that today, but it's a combination of things as you go along. Just keep on learning, you want to keep on learning and keep on absorbing, and you keep on looking at other people that you aspire to be, and what are they doing that you're not. I think that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, it's definitely like, the warrior that's been through so many battles. You're like, I've been to battle, I can do this again, type thing, right?
Right.
That's awesome. So you mentioned this a couple of times here, and I wanted to ask is, so you faced obviously some huge obstacles, and obviously, going through the bankruptcy, as you've mentioned, going through that, and I think obviously it's a part of success, and it's a part of being able to be a risk taker. You're going to get some things wrong, or some things are going to go bad. How did you overcome this massive obstacle that you faced, and what lessons do you think you took with you moving into after overcoming this big obstacle of going through a bankruptcy?
Well, I didn't go through bankruptcy. I avoided it.
You avoid, okay.
I came on the verge of it. Right. And what I learned from that is always surround yourself with great people. Ask for help when you think you need it. I did learn making sure you become a master of your cash flow. Make sure you know where your money's coming. I mean, before that, I was kind of lackadaisical when I looked at financial statements, cash flow statements coming in. After that, I knew what our cash balances were better than my bookkeeper. I knew what was coming in. I used to have things put on my desk every 15 days in cash flow, and not only what was there, but projected for the next year, 2 years. So I would say become what allowed me to recover, and I suggest people do this to avoid what I did, is basically, cash flow is king. Make sure you know what's coming in, what's going out, and what will be coming in and going out 6 months from now, a year from now. That's one. Two, have financial reserves. I have no reserves. Make sure your company or yourself personally have at least 3 months, maybe 6, but 3 months expenses as there's no income came in. That way you're going to be okay if there's a sudden hit to the business. 3, make sure you have really great banking relationships and lines of credit if you can get them. Banks can sometimes be hard to deal with because it's not their job to take risk. It's your job. And people forget that. But having a great relationship with bankers can be very important because they can be there in times when they know you're going to recover. They know you're going to get out of it because you've done it before. The fact that I get out of all the things that I did, all the properties that went under, all the things I did, I became gold to the bank. The bank knew I was going to get out of things. I was going to handle a business well. So I think matching your cash flow, having lines of credit, relations with your bankers, and I think that those are the most important things no matter where you are in business.
Yeah.
And we'll help you get out and stay out of trouble.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And in regards to some of the resources, what sort of resources do you think helped you as an entrepreneur? Even as now and where you're at, are you someone that, for example, are you big on your calendar? Do you have like a specific tool that you're using to help with your financial management, or how you look at your statements? What types of resources do you think are valuable to you?
Well, there's resources, and then there's habits, I guess, things you form. And again, my 20s and 30s, I was probably the most disorganized person. I used to have these little notes, these little scratches of pieces of paper and put them in my pocket or whatever. At the end of the night, take out these crumpled pieces of paper, or the to-do list that never ended. And I was always late for appointments. I always ran out of gas a lot too, by the way. I was just terrible. Anyway, so I remember reading about this thing called the Franklin Planner. There's date calendars and all this, and nothing worked for me. But I got a hold of a Franklin Planner. This is over 35 years ago. And I had been religiously having and updating my financial planner every month, day, week, year. So that is one thing that gave me discipline. I have a certain discipline that happens. I go through in the morning. I get up at 6 in the morning. I haven't used an alarm clock for 20 years. I get up at 6 o'clock every day, no matter how late I go to bed. I do some stretching exercises. I read the papers. I get the habit of reading the Wall Street Journal, New York Times every day. It helps you out in business, helps you broaden your information, update my calendar. And by the way, I read other books like that. There's Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Successful Individuals. I think it's called something like that. There's also First Things First, learning to prioritize, right? I read other books too. There's one's called Zap.
Yeah.
Power of Enlightenment. I'm not sure you ever heard of it, but 25 years ago, it's how to really compliment people, how to manage people. Really great. There's another book by Michael Gerber, and and the name escapes me, but what he said is everything had a process. Mm-hmm. So we turned everything we had our firm into a process so that it was replicable and it was consistent every time a client or a customer walked in. But there's so many. I guess what I'm saying is that I think it's important to get some habits, good habits. I think it's important to take care of yourself, exercise, eat right. Probably one of my only weaknesses is I like Scotch and bourbon. But I control it. But I think, have good habits for yourself. Have good habits in your company. Attend conferences. Establish a board of advisors if you're an entrepreneur. Get these people that are successful people coming around. And our board, I used to give them permission to beat me up. They were there to beat me up and my management team. And they really beat us up every quarter. They became friends, but they held no prisoners. It just constantly helps you. So I would say those are some of the habits and things I formed over the years. I wish I could have done some of these sooner, but hey, I guess I finally learned them.
I guess it worked out, right? So.
It does. It continues to today. I tell you, I can't break these habits. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I totally agree in terms of not being afraid to be critiqued and have people who can actually give you the feedback and look at things that you're not seeing potentially that can really help you, right?
And by the way, don't go to your friends for this. Don't go to family and friends because they're not going to be honest with you.
Exactly.
They don't want to hurt your feelings. Go to someone, a real friend who will just tell you the truth, no matter what. Or businessmen that will really just like get in your face. You want people, we want to give permission to get in your face. So I agree with that.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, so did you sell your financial firm and then, move into working with Cakeclub, or what was the process like for that? And when did you decide to kind of move in or move forward with a new business?
Well, keep in mind that when I first started the accounting firm and then the wealth management company, it grew into that. I also had about 6 or 7 other partnerships or businesses in real estate. I eventually sold them all out and phased them out because I wanted to concentrate just solely on the wealth management business because, quite frankly, my mission by that time was to be a powerful, positive influence in the lives of others, to help them achieve their dreams and live the life they wanted along the way. And so my wealth management business, my financial planning business became the core of my mission in life. But again, as I eventually saw that, again, looking at pivoting, I built a really great company. We had clients all over the United States, I had great staff, and many firms wanted to buy us. I eventually decided to sell because I guess one, I wanted to do something else, but also two, for us to survive in that business long term meant we had to have more capital, other things that we as a firm, we were going to face in the future, and I didn't think we had the tools for it. That's one. But even though I sold the firm, and I sold the firm in 2018, Ashley stayed for a while. They paid me really great to do practically nothing for a few years, and I decided to leave. So I left in 2021. And I found out when I sold it that I was sad at first, but it was really great because I could do other things. And I could do things like Cake Club here, but I also learned too that your mission doesn't end. Just because you have a mission to come, you build a company around, doesn't mean your mission ends. I still wanted to be a positive, powerful, and successful influence in the lives of others and help people. And so, as the last couple of years, about a year and a half ago, this young man, his name is Amin Buramon. He's a double data science doctorate major. He approached me and said, "Al, I read your books. I love what you're doing, and I'm out to help 100,000 or millions of people around the world become more financially literate and help them achieve their financial dreams." And I met with him a couple of times. I finally said, and he wanted to create an app for this. I said, "Let's do it together." So about a year ago, from April, we established a parent company, and then established Cake Club. We're about a week, or hopefully 2 or 3 weeks from Ashley launching the app. It's taken us about 6 months to 9 months to build, which is a story in itself, by the way. So I'm doing that. So yeah, I have my Cake Club shirt on here today. So I'm excited. I mean, he's the CEO of the company. I'm the executive chair. He runs the company, day-to-day operations. I guide, whatever. I write, I promote, and I'm having fun.
That's awesome. I mean, great pivot into something completely new, and now going into on the tech side. So for someone who would be interested in learning more about Cake Club, what is it that you're doing for your customers, and how is it helping or providing value to them?
Well, keep in mind that, again, as we start out with here, like, what is how do you define success, right? You define success by how much freedom you have to make choices, take risks, say no to or yes to opportunities, right? That's what we're out to do. We're out to provide a way for people to achieve or get to the freedom to make all those choices. How are we doing that? We establish an app that has, I'll call it a budgeting part, but I hate that word, budgeting, yeah. But it's putting together a spending plan that works for you, because what works for you is different for me and other people in life, right? Just like the amount of money that's giving you freedom is different. So we help people put together an effective spending plan. But what makes us different is that I always thought it was my job not only to tell you how much money you needed to save, but help you find the money. And so help you, like, we have a part of our app that if you just put your credit card information in there, I mean, not your personal information, but that credit card you have, we can tell you what stores to go to, or if you're shopping, what card to use to get the best cash backs, to get the points, to get the best benefits. And we're going to be expanding that. So we're going to be with a part of our site that's going to give you financial advice, like maybe you shouldn't pay off those school loans quickly. You should do something else to save money. But we're out here to help you find money, as well as having a spending plan that works for you. So you can find out more information about Cake Club by going to the cakeclubapp.com. If you just put in Cake Club, there's actually another company out there that's actual bakery, Cake Club. But ours is cakeclubapp.com. So if you get on there, you can find out a lot more information about that. If you want to find out information about some of the things I've written, you can go. I've written a couple of books, Master Your Cash Flow, that you can still get on Amazon, and or you can go to my website, al@alzdenek.com. But I'm gonna start with the cakeclubapp.com first.
Yeah, perfect. And we'll make sure we get all the apps and be able to share it. And I'm also going to tap you for some of those books you mentioned.
Okay.
If you can share that so we can make sure we can share that with the audience. Really appreciate that. And it definitely, this app sounds like it's going to be a game changer in terms of helping people, really get the most out of, their money and being able to financially plan. So please check it out when you get the chance. One of the questions I wanted to ask is if you had an advice for, entrepreneurs who may be thinking of taking the same path as you. I know you said you may have done something different, but what advice would you give for someone thinking of maybe going into financial or wealth management? And in terms of what to think about when they do take this step, and what skills do you think or how you think they could go about being successful down this path?
Well, I think the most important thing is that, one, ask yourself that you like risk.
Mm.
Do you like waking up someday and not getting paid? Because sometimes you don't get paid. It just happens when you're a startup company or a startup. That's one. If you can get by that, make sure your spouse or your partner also can live with that, because they may not like it.
Yeah.
And then I would say find a niche that you like, something that not only do you want to be involved in, but you love it, and that you can make the money or the that you want from it to give you the freedom you want to make choices in life.
Mm.
Surround yourself. Look for people in that business or have successful businesses. Ask them what made them success. Ask them if you can tap them for knowledge once in a while. Bounce things off of them. Get yourself a championship team, and then go out there, and as you're putting your act together, make sure that you save some of that cash flow for emergencies. Make yourself a master of that cash flow, and along the way, have fun, enjoy life. Don't work 24/7. I did that, but you want to travel, you want to have a family, you want to have a life too. And if you do that, you'll have a life that I was lucky to have.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Thank you. And a question I wanted to ask is, certainly when it comes into like financial planning, or maybe this is more on the stock side, there's been a huge kind of move with people utilizing AI in their plans. What's your take on that? And are you utilizing AI in what you're doing as well?
Definitely. AI is you call things a game changer. That is like a life changer, a generational life changer. So that's one thing I forgot to mention. So it is part of our app, and that we're developing in iterations, is having like a chat bot where all my information from my books and all my articles, whatever, it's all gonna be loaded to where you can call up someday and say, Al, and you get me, but it's basically AI. And I'll be able to answer you just like Al Zdenek does.
That's
and
awesome.
So we're using this in some of our public relations. We're using this as part of like building the app to get the information, like I'm telling you, from like what car to use. Oh no, we're big believers in that. And quite frankly, yes, I can see from an operational side how it's going to change financial planning, where you can have like quite frankly, you can have someone as natural looking as you be talking to me, and it can be an AI generated, right? We all know that. So it's going to change financial planning, such as administrative tasks, like calling up for appointments, receptions. Get someone, they have a quick question on the line. You're going to have a chat with a representative. And then I think with modeling investments, I think doing that is going to be a lot more efficient than some of the modeling that I see today. And quite frankly, I mean, there's probably so many iterations and levels I'm not thinking of that this is going to change the industry. But again, even though no matter how much it changes, it still comes down to you want to achieve financial freedom for yourself. And however you do it, through the help of a person, AI, whatever, is get in the game. Just don't stay on the treadmill of going to work, whatever, and say, I'll get to it someday. So get to it tomorrow.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic advice. And something I wanted to ask, you've mentioned it a few times. Right, one of my last questions here would be, you said you wanted to obviously leave a legacy of being able to help people, obviously being financially free, and having, well, I guess, being able to focus on what's important to you. At this point in your life, what are you most proud of? And do you think you've accomplished, the things you set out to do when you first started on this path of entrepreneurship?
That's a really great question. I'll say that I'm most proud of the people I've met and have been part of my life in the past and right now around me. The relationships I have with people is really great, and how I've grown to that. Have I completed my legacy? I think the only lasting legacy in life is contribution to people. I don't care what you build, buildings or whatever, companies, they're all going to go. It's what you leave behind you or how you affected other people's lives that they can pass on to others. I'm really proud that I made that a mission in my life, but the mission's not over.
Yeah.
The mission ends when Al Zdenek ends. And even maybe not when Al Zdenek ends, because there'll be a chatbot rather with Al Zdenek.
Yeah.
So maybe 200 or 300 years from now, your chatbot will be speaking with my chatbot. So let me put it this way: I'm proud of helping people. I'm proud of continuing contributions today, and it's not over.
Yeah, exactly. There's still so much to go. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. If I could throw one more random question at you here, I'd love to, is if you had a theme song for your life, what song would that be?
Oh, what's the best is yet to come.
Love it.
Frank Sinatra, the best. That one, or I did it my way, but the best is yet to come.
Is yet to come. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today. Please let us know, when we can check out the Cake app. When did you say it was launching? Or
well, it's in beta testing now. We're hoping to launch it second week of July.
Okay, awesome. So we'll make sure everyone can jump on and check it out. We really appreciate your time and you speaking with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Carl. A pleasure.
Awesome. Take care.
Bye-bye.